This is The Mud Peddlers, a podcast where two nerdy ceramic artists share the behind the scenes of their worlds of clay. We are your hosts, Lindsey M Dillon.
And I am Donte of Earth Nation.
This week on The Mud Peddlers, Donte is, well, what are you doing, Donte?
So I'm running into a lot of misinformation online.
Okay.
Like a stupid amount of it.
Okay.
I'm running into things like opening your kiln early causes crazing.
Right.
Which is weird, because I feel like a normal thinking person would open their kiln early, and then
Donte.
Hear me out.
No. You can't say a normal thinking person.
Hear me out. Would open the kiln early, and then everything would be crazed, would it not? If opening the kiln early caused crazing.
Not necessarily. Not if you don't, you can't say that, if you just think about it, because if people don't understand the process of how certain things work,
okay,
you're not going to be able to think through those things because you don't understand how those things work.
Well, then I'll give that to you, but then you can't say they work a certain way.
Okay.
Can you agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone comes up to you and says...
Okay, we're talking about misinformation, and Donte is going to do a little demonstration, which would really... We're going to try and describe it as best we can.
Yeah. No, they know what... You can look it up. It's called mocha diffusion.
Mocha diffusion.
You can just...
Okay.
You can literally just Google it. But here's the thing. Google is going to lie to you.
Okay.
So this is called mocha diffusion. What many people have been told is that it's a reaction in between the clay and acidity, which means you have to get some type of acidic liquid. Then you have to mix it with colorant.
Okay.
And then you put it on slip with a little bit of a surfactant, usually in the case...
What's a surfactant? It's
something that allows the interaction in between water and things that don't mix with water. So it's like it's a molecule, and at one end of the molecule it's hydrophobic, and the other end it's hydrophilic.
Oh, okay.
But because it's in the same molecule, it allows interaction.
Oh.
That's what soap is.
Cool.
It's just a surfactant. So when you're washing your hands, you ain't washing nothing. You're just getting crap off. And the surfactant allows stuff to come off.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's really what it is. And so what most people have been told who know how to do this is that it's a reaction with acidity. There's a group of people out there who think it's with sodium. There's a group of people out there who think it's with sugar, and they've been misled, I tell you. Lindsey, can you please tell me what is inside of this?
This container is filled with about 30 to 40 milliliters of water from the hose outside.
From Sacramento to Zap water.
Yeah.
Right? Which is how the rappers say tap water. This right here is...
Wow, it's purple.
Yeah, I don't know why your red iron oxide is straight up purple. I thought it was Spanish iron oxide for a second. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to drop this. This is a lot, so I'm probably going to drop less of it than I actually need.
We're looking at about maybe like a tablespoon and a half.
Yeah, about a tablespoon.
Of iron oxide that Donte just put into the water.
Can I get a little brush from you?
A little brush, yeah.
I need a brush and then maybe like some dish soap and we're good.
Okay. All right, a brush. Do you need like a big brush or a little brush?
A fine tip brush would be great.
Tip brush.
Anything that's not one of those square wood brushes is great.
All right, so like one of these?
That's perfect.
Okay.
This is perfect.
And some dish soap?
Yep.
You should have asked me that before.
I know.
Be right back, guys.
I didn't think about
it. I'm back.
Perfect.
All right, we have palm olive, pure and clear dish soap.
Potter's Choice.
Potter's Choice?
Potter's Choice Dawn.
Oh, yeah?
For some strange reason, whenever someone does this trick, and they use a little bit of soap, right? They'll often, you pull out Dawn, and I expect you to pull out Dawn.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I expected to pull out Dawn too, but
Dawn is
this is the soap that's at my mom's house.
Okay, so we're gonna do one thing, because sometimes it works with a surfactant, and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, so what did you do in the meantime? Did you explain
it
onto the podcast? No, it looks like you mixed the iron oxide and the water together.
Yeah, but I did that in front of you.
Oh.
Right? I just did some of this.
Okay.
I didn't even use a mixer. I just dumped it in there and that's it.
Okay.
So here we have a suspension of red iron oxide inside of just water. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to take this tool. We're not going to use a pot. It doesn't need to have a pot.
Okay.
We're going to dump this inside of slip.
We should describe what this is. Excuse me. This is sort of a rectangular piece of just like wood.
It's like a wooden potter's tool, but it's like a Dirty Girls tool where it's a bit more flat, right?
Dirty Girls?
Yeah, the brand Dirty Girls. They make wooden tools.
Oh.
Right. So I'm dipping this in the slip.
Is it just regular slip?
It is just regular slip.
So it's what?
This is damn near B-mix with no grog. This is just B-mix straight.
B-mix
that I've sieved. There's no clumps in it.
Okay, with water.
Yeah, it's slip. Yeah, it's slip.
Okay.
Right? And so I'm going to put this here.
You just took a small little dip of the iron oxide and water mixture.
Okay.
And
so now what I'm going to do is
put it on the stick. Okay, now he is putting some soap.
We're adding like 2 drops.
Okay, 2 drops of soap.
2 drops of soap
into the iron oxide and water mix. Okay, and so right now there is we have a wooden tool. We've got slip on the wooden tool, and then we've got a drop of. Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh, your god.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. So by comparison, we've got no. Wait.
No, I'm not gonna do more. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Okay.
Right.
So we've got a drip of iron oxide. I'm sorry for anyone who has seen mocha diffusion before. You're probably like, okay, come on, we know what this is. But in case you don't,
no, that's my point. They don't know what it is.
Okay. I just want to show them what it looks like at least. So. Basically, in the mix, wait, don't put anything more.
I'm going to put more on
No, I need to explain some things. Okay, so, because this is not a visual medium, we have to explain as though folks can't see because they can't.
You're right.
We've got the wooden stick. It has been dipped in slip. Then there's a little dot of the iron oxide and water mixture on the slip, and it's just remaining a nice little circle. Mm-hmm. And then when Donte added the dish soap to the iron oxide and water mixture and then dipped it onto the slip, then it's kind of starbursted out into this really neat looking kind of organic, cellular looking sort of pattern.
So what people in the pottery world will tell you is that this little spidering that you're seeing here is the reaction in between an acidic base, something like lemon juice or something like tobacco or something like that, chewing tobacco, and they'll mix it with water. And then they'll end up putting it on the clay, the very viscous clay that has much higher viscosity in comparison to the liquid. And they'll see this and they'll go, oh, it's because of the acid.
Wait, they'll put it on clay?
This is clay. This is the.
Oh, yeah, okay, they'll put it on something. Okay, yeah.
And then they'll say that this reaction is because it's acidic.
Okay.
Tell me what's wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything acidic in here.
That's damn right there's not, Lindsay.
Unless, because I don't know what the pH of dish soap is.
In fact, most soaps, including dish soap, are pH neutral. They're base, which means if you mix them with things that are acidic, it brings down their acidity. Oh. So even if it was about acid, mixing soap into it makes it less acidic.
Does everybody mix soap into it?
No, you can do this with bleach, which is so not acidic, it's considered alkaline.
So it's basically what did you call it? Surfactant? What was it called?
It's the surfactant helps.
Surfactant.
The surfactant helps reduce surface tension, which helps this happen. Because sometimes you can do it with like just regular water or just regular bleach without any soap. You can just put a color into bleach and then put slip onto whatever you want, and then it would work.
Okay.
No acidity.
So it doesn't. Essentially the mixture of the iron oxide plus blank can be a lot of different stuff.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with acid.
Okay.
What this is called it's called viscous. Don't laugh. Viscous fingering. I told you not to laugh. So here's kind of what I expect.
I'm sorry, you can't.
I did.
You did.
So here's kind of what I expect people who are listening to this to do right now.
Are you going to tell me about viscous fingering?
I am going to tell you about viscous. Okay. I'm going to viscous finger everybody right now.
Okay.
Here's what I expect people to do at the moment is to look up mocha diffusion into Google, and they're going to see probably a bunch of people doing it.
I want to look it up right now.
Look it up.
Okay,
and then what I expect people to do is to Google mocha diffusion, and Google's going to tell you it's a reaction in between, it's something acidic and clay.
M-O-C-H-A?
M-O-C-H-A-D-I-F-F.
How to do mocha diffusion. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you see it?
Yeah. Okay, so the AI overview in Google says mocha diffusion is a ceramic decorating technique that involves reacting an acid solution like apple cider vinegar or tobacco tea with wet slip, a runny clay mixture, on the surface of a pottery piece. This reaction causes the acidic solution to eat into the slip, creating a fern-like or dendritic pattern as the colorant in the solution moves along with the acid.
We just did it with water. And if you want me to go even further, I could do it with milk. And the people who say, well, so milk is technically a little acidic on the pH scale. Remember, on the acid scale...
Wow, you're right. I'm seeing this in so many... This is on the Ceramic Arts Network.
Here's the thing about this, is that there's 2 or 3 people who do mocha diffusion in the clay world, and I think they were taught that it was a reaction with acidity, and they never questioned it or tested it. Oh. It also happens that all the acidic things around you in the world that you can easily get your hands on also happen to be really low viscosity in comparison to your standard, which is your slip. What's happening is called viscous fingering. Viscous fingering is just a reaction in between something that is high viscosity, and then you put something that is relatively mobile and low viscosity on top of it. Now do me a favor. Get your same phone and look up viscous fingering. Don't laugh.
I'm sorry. I'm an adult, I swear. V-I-S-C-O, viscous.
Doesn't matter. If you spell it wrong, the Google will do it.
Viscous fingering. I'm seeing a thing that says Safman-Taylor instability.
That's the person who kind of figured it out, but go a little deeper.
All right, I've got a Science Direct. Just
look for a video. It's easier for visual.
No, but if we do a video, then I'd have to credit them,
true.
so I can't.
That's true.
I'm seeing a thing that says suppressing viscous fingering in structured porous media.
That's really deep. Here, let me see.
Why honey makes strange tendrils. RoyalSocietyPublishing.org.
No, you're going too deep now.
I'm gonna look up on Wikipedia.
Just type into Google what is viscous fingering. It'll be like the first thing that pops up. I did.
Okay, there we go. AI overview. Viscous fingering is a phenomenon where a less viscous fluid displaces a more viscous fluid, resulting in finger-like patterns in the surface or at the surface between the two fluids. This instability occurs when a lower viscosity fluid, like water, forces a more viscous one, like oil, out of its way, creating paths of lower resistance and leading to the formation of these finger-like structures. Interesting.
That's what's happening here. It has nothing to do with acid. And you know how I know this? I went on a week-long journey of testing lemon juice because my immediate thought was, okay, it has to do with acid. Mm-hmm. I read the thing.
So what got you, before we get into like more of the details, what got you onto this kick of researching this? Like, how did you decide, mocha diffusion, I'm going to, I'm going to myth bust this motherfucker. Sorry, that's a...
No, we're explicit. We're explicit. So essentially, one of my students asked, like, hey, how do you do mocha diffusion? This Google says it's about, acidity, it's about this, it's about that. And luckily for me, this student was a chemist.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm testing out all these things. I assume that because Google says it's about acidity, I've been testing everything that's acidic. And because of that, I've assumed that more acidity equals more of a reaction.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not getting that. Oh. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I looked it up, right? And I talked to a buddy of mine who is not named. And he was like, yeah, it's something called viscous fingering. The problem is nobody believes me, and I don't have the time to do the test. I'm not doing the tests. Oh. And so I was like, I'll do all the tests. So I went to go get sulfuric acid, which, by the way, you shouldn't be able to buy at Lowe's, but you can. It's in a lot of cleaners, right? In acidic form, rather. And I got that, and I tested it, and nothing, it reacted. But I was like, hold on. And then I did it with water. And I was like, okay, well, water's not that acidic.
Yeah.
Let me find something less acidic. And then I did it with milk. And I was like, okay, well, milk is neutral. How far can I go?
What is the pH of milk? Yeah, okay, so...
Remember,
pH,
7 is neutral.
Yeah. We should actually, so...
Go ahead, look at it right now.
No, I believe you. I was just going to think... Okay, so as a reminder...
Don't believe me.
So the pH is basically measures the acidity of something.
Yeah.
pH 7 is neutral. pH, anything
1 is like battery acid.
Okay, so pH 1 is anything below 7 is more acidic. Anything above 7 is more basic.
Yes.
Okay.
And then some things are also, like base is like not acidic, essentially.
Right. Okay, so pH of milk.
Look up water.
It says fresh milk typically has a pH between 6.4 and 6.8. So basically neutral.
And so what I did is I was like, okay, well, let me test something that is so non-acidic that it's considered very base. Mm-hmm. So I used bleach. Can you do me a favor and look up the pH level of bleach?
Yeah.
By the way, don't put bleach in your kiln. It does work, but don't do it. I did it. I don't do it.
Okay. What is the pH level of bleach? My algorithm is going to be really confused now. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah. It's all up there, right? It's like 11 or 13.
Yeah, so it says, this is the AI overview. Bleach has a pH level between 11 and 13, making it highly alkaline, meaning basic, and corrosive substance. Yep. This high pH is due to its chemical composition, primarily sodium hypochlorite. Sorry. Wow, okay, all right.
All you need is a high viscosity something to interact on the bottom of a low viscosity something.
Oh, man.
And the only thing we're doing is we're putting color inside of it. So manganese dioxide, red iron oxide, you can use mason stains. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to have acid in it. I'm doing it with water in front of you. And just because I know I'm going to release a YouTube video on this pretty soon, and I know there's going to be detractors because there's people who've taken classes on this, and there's like 3 or 4 of them, who like does this as a career, never tested it without the acidity in it whatsoever, so they just assume if it's working, don't fix it. If they ain't broke, don't fix it. They're just out there being like, it's acid. So my students are coming to me, one in particular, like, hey, I don't think it's acid. And so it's just viscous fingering. That's all it is. And the crazy thing is that you can just do this at home. I made some slip. I have a recipe for slip, but I also bought some porcelain slip to make sure. I tested this thing 7 ways to Sunday.
So
I did my own spit. I did Listerine. I did Colgate. I did green tea. I did English breakfast tea. I did water. I did bleach. I did pineapple juice because I thought it was acidic at one point. I did the lemon juice from a fresh lemon in front of my tree because I live in California and we have those. Hey. I did orange juice. There's something else I did that I wasn't supposed to do. I did sulfuric acid. I got some cleaner. The one that was really big for me was honey. Because why don't you look up the pH level of honey real quick?
Okay. What is the pH level of
And remember out
honey?
there, 7 is base. 7 is neutral. So 7 is like...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Honey is more acidic than both milk and water.
That's crazy town. Okay, so the AI overview says honey has an average pH level of around 3.9, making it acidic.
Honey is way more acidic than things that it's working with. So I thought, hey, if it's really not a interaction in between viscosity and it is acidity, it should be able to work with honey, regardless of its viscosity, right? I should touch honey to slip and see some type of dendrils pop out.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Oh, fascinating.
But you know what did work? I microwaved the honey. And
the viscosity.
I changed the viscosity. And then I put some color in there. And that shit worked.
So right now you've been adding more water to the slip to make it less viscous.
Yeah.
So do you want the less viscous material as the bottom level?
No, the bottom. So the first thing you put on. So ideally you would get a pot and you would dip like your leather hard pot or whatever into the slip and you would take it out. It does work better with leather hard.
Okay.
Not bone dry, not bisque. I'll talk about that in the YouTube video I'm releasing soon. And then you would get the suspension and you'd put it on there. Granted, it works without soap. A lot of the time, but it works way better with soap.
Okay, because soap is more viscous.
No, the soap is just a surfactant. It
Soap
reduces
is a surfactant.
surface tension. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, I'm trying to get a sense of if
this is more
if the viscous fingering is the interaction between like a more viscous and a less viscous substance, does it matter what the more viscous substance is? Does it matter if the more viscous is the slip, or does it matter more if the lower viscosity thing is the thing with the colorant in it?
So it works in reverse, but it doesn't work in the way that you think it does. Like
No, but I don't. So what I'm not understanding is like what's more viscous and less viscous in this situation.
The slip is more viscous.
Okay.
The other thing that you're mixing colors into is less viscous.
Okay. So the slip is more watery.
No, more viscous.
Oh, more viscous. Okay, so it's thicker. Okay,
yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so the slip is thicker or more viscous.
More viscous.
Okay. So
has higher viscosity.
Okay. Higher viscosity, but you're adding water to it. So you're making it
right now I'm adding water to it because there is a limit. If it's too thick, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Right? There's a happy medium.
Yeah. Okay, so
but generally the less viscous substance
goes on top.
The thicker substance goes on the bottom. Keep that. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
The thicker substance goes on the bottom.
Thicker substance goes on the bottom. More watery solution goes on top.
Yes. The only difference is the watery solution that goes on top, we're just mixing a color into it.
Yes. And soap to reduce the surface tension.
Yes.
Because surface tension would prevent the viscous fingering because essentially to
a degree.
Oh, it's almost kind of like, okay, no, hear me out.
The penny experiment?
No, I was going to say it's like that scene from from Jurassic Park, where Jeff Goldblum's character is having what's her face add water to his hand, and the one drop of water, it's like the surface tension prevents that drop of water from running, but when you add more water, eventually that's so cool. Eventually it moves the water away. So if you have less surface tension, instead of that drop of water being like a self-contained like little drop, it spreads out, and then you get viscous fingering. That's so cool. It
usually, so this is kind of a poor brush for it. It usually works with those kind of like more calligraphy style brushes where everything comes onto a single drop. Because by the time I lift this brush out of the solution or out of the suspension, it's just like...
Okay, here, let me get a different brush then.
But it's still working.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, so ideally you want to do this with is this better? If it's like...
That's way better.
Okay.
And now I can actually put a drop on there, and the drop will carry more of the stuff.
Cool. I've literally, just for some context, this is a Sumi brush that I think I've had literally since like high school.
It's a good brush.
It is. I have not taken good care of it. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but
yeah. So
right. So well, the thing is that this is one of the like core misinformation things in the world. Because all not all of them, but a couple of my students are like. The ones who have chemistry degrees are like, this isn't working the way it says it is. And I want to know why. Do you know why? Do you know how to do this? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I can figure it out though. You know? And then I start looking it up, and then one of the people who follow me kind of points me in the right direction, and I do all the experiments, and I'm like, it's not about acid. If it was, then honey should work in comparison to milk and water. And I know for sure I'm going to release a video and get some comments of, I took a class and you're totally wrong. Here's my comeback to you. Just try it with bleach, and then look up the pH level of bleach, and then I'll take my apology letter in the mail. You know?
Interesting. Okay, so when is this video coming out? Because I'm probably gonna...
In like 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Okay. Oh, whoa!
Yeah, see, it works now.
What the fuck? That's so cool. Sorry, I'm like yelling.
No, you're good. See, it works way better now because we have the correct brush.
Oh my god. Wow.
But I want you to say it into the microphone one more time. What are we doing here? This is water, red iron oxide, and 2 drops of soap.
Yeah. Okay. Water, red iron oxide, 2 drops of soap. We've got the...
And we use Sacramento tap water. It wasn't special alkaline water.
Yeah.
It wasn't acid water. Nobody put snake venom in it.
Snake venom.
To continue the weird pseudo-alchemy misinformation.
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is going to be seeing the video.
I do it about 3 or 4 times in the video.
Yeah. You could conceivably do this with glaze if you, for instance, like, let's say you had a bisqueware.
I did it with glaze, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had bisqueware, let's say you, like, saturated it in water.
Yeah.
Because my first thought with this is like, okay, you have your bisqueware. If you just dip your cup or whatever in glaze, all that water is going to get absorbed into the cup, and then you're not going to have a viscous surface.
Correct. Absolutely.
So,
yeah, correct.
Okay, so you would like saturate the cup in water, then dip it in the glaze, or not completely saturated, but like somewhat saturate it in water, so that some of the glaze water gets sucked into the cup. So you still have some glaze on your surface, but you have more water. So that
I get where you're going.
Okay, yeah.
So what most people do, and this is what I said in the video as a demonstration, is that don't use a bisque cup because the
Oh no, I'm thinking like if you did want to use a bisque cup though.
If you did want to use a bisque cup, you would have to saturate the crap out of your bisqueware with water. You'd have to waterlog the pores of your clay, the capillaries of your clay, and then dip it in so that it doesn't. You're right, absorb as quickly. What most people do though is that they get a leather hard cup. They hold onto the foot. They dip most of the pot inside of some kind of slip.
Okay.
Usually a slip matching the clay body that you have, using B mixed with grog.
Okay.
You B mixed with grog slip or B mixed slip.
Yeah.
Don't get a black clay and put porcelain over it.
Ooh.
You can do it, but I just wouldn't. And then they pull it out by the foot. They hold it up, usually over a sponge for messes, and then they slowly drip it on there. If you use a bone dry thing, it'll soak up all the water. You won't have any viscosity left to drip on. If you use a bisqueware cup, it does the same thing. It soaks up all the water. It doesn't work.
So then if you're doing mocha diffusion with a glaze, then you basically have to do 1 firing ceramics. Oh wait, no. I guess you could still do a 2-step firing.
You could. I wouldn't, but you could. Most people, what I've seen them do, and this is just my suggestion, is to just pick a color: manganese dioxide, red iron oxide, yellow ochre, Hell, pick a mason stain. I don't care. Mix it in some water. I don't suggest mixing it in things like bleach. Don't fire bleach, please. I don't suggest mixing it in things like 70% isopropyl alcohol. It works. Don't fire alcohol in your kiln, please. I don't suggest putting it in things like milk because I don't want to have a discussion about proteins and fats. I just use water. Soy sauce gets in the way because it's sodium.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Sodium in the kiln.
I don't want sodium in the kiln.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somebody would come out and be like, it doesn't hurt your kiln. I don't care.
But you basically can't do this with glaze on a leather hard piece. Like, okay, because where my mind goes with it is like, I want to see what red iron oxide on top of my eggshell matte glaze does, because I think that would look cool as hell.
Right.
But I can't do that because I would be having to glaze bisqueware.
Well, here's the cool thing that you and I both know is that what is glaze? It's minerals floating in water. But I mean, it's kind of like fluxes and alkali earth and alkali metal, and then then there's stabilizers and there's glass formers. It's a lot. Just use underglaze. It's just color.
No.
It's just color and clay.
No, but that's the thing. Is like, but I don't want to just use an underglaze. Like I would like.
Oh, you need Jesus then. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I think okay. So basically,
you can do it. It's just a lot of work around.
Okay, all right. So essentially, the ideal way to use mocha diffusion is not with glazes. It's with slips and underglazes on greenware.
And that's
okay.
And it's already a pretty open. So because what happens is the people that are telling you it's about acid will be like, you have to use an acid base. So things like underglaze are closed off. You can't use underglaze because that's just water and mason stains happen. It's water, clay, and mason stains most of the time, right? But now that I've made it very clear, and I'm going to even make it even more clear with a bunch of video proof.
This is going to be so... Okay, and you said the video is coming out in about 2 weeks from now? Okay,
and I've written a giant hour-long blog with 30 minutes strung together of video that I've edited of just me testing all the things I said today. My spit, listerine, right? Water, bleach. At one point, it's like sulfuric acid. Like I do like 7 or 8 different things. Okay.
Are your patrons, because I want to make sure...
Honey?
Are your patrons going to get early access or anything like that? All right, friends. So you hear it now. If you want to get this sooner than in 2 weeks, go to sign up for Donte's Patreon.
Patrons are probably going to get it in like a week.
Patreon.com/EarthNationCeramics.
Yes. And I'm also going to release the video and the blog at the same time.
Okay.
For people who see it and they're like, I don't believe you. I want to see all the tests. I'll go, okay, I already put the tests up. Go ahead. You know what I mean? Like I want to double, triple check because there's a lot of people, especially in like, and I know I always hark on them, the Facebook community, who are like, no, I took a class, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm wrong. I think you just believe someone who thinks they're right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Which is, again, that's like I think what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but like, what I'm hearing you say is you're not trying to be like, people have been intentionally lying about this to do this. Yeah, no, it's just, it's misinformation where it's people think that things work a certain way, but turns out they don't. It's different.
Well, it goes a bit deeper than that. For me, it's like, I kind of just test it. So like, when I listen to the For Flux's Sake podcast, I love them very much.
Hell yeah.
They're awesome. I took a lot of my classes from them, but whenever they say something that I've already formed a hypothesis for, I've already tested it, and they often confirm it by telling me yes or no. If it works in reverse, if they say something that I don't believe, what I do is I go and test it. And then after I test it, I kind of judge my own opinions based on that.
So in terms of you, like if they say something you're not sure about, then you go do the thing and you go, okay, cool, like, they were right about that, or maybe they weren't.
Usually, there's just more context to it than not.
Okay.
If they say something that I'm like, I tested it, and I'm like, that's like 80% true. It's usually they just left out some context. But
which makes sense.
They're a 30-minute podcast, dog.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, and that I think that is an understandable thing where it's like, again, like we've talked about before.
Yeah.
When you're explaining something complex to an audience that is not at that same like baseline level of understanding, like you have to leave out some context, some detail to be able to create a comprehensible thing.
Right. And I think for me, either one of those scenarios that I just gave you of me forming a hypothesis, testing something, and then waiting for someone who for me is a trusted source to kind of confirm it, or for a trusted source to say something and then I test it. Either way, I'm testing it. I think what happens a lot of the time is that people take a class, they figure out information, and they never question it. They never test it. They don't even do a tiny bit of testing.
I mean, I kind of can't blame them.
I can blame them. Yeah. Well, I can't.
Well, let me finish my thought.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them because I think in a lot of ways that's how we operate generally speaking as humans. Like, I mean, okay, maybe this isn't the best example, but I'm going to use this example because it's the first thing that came to mind. Like, for something with the news or with like science, you know, like our reality does not permit us to be able to test every single thing that we hear from people in positions of authority.
Yeah, of course.
We do, to some degree, have a responsibility to cultivate the critical thinking skills to it. Oh God, this is hard to, okay. It's hard to describe, but bear with me.
I'm listening.
Okay. So we know that, like, generally speaking, people who have experience and expertise in something, I want to say, like, respect the experts, right? People who are in positions of authority, who have experience with the thing, are probably going to know more about the particular topic than some random person that doesn't. However, we also know that science and anything where you're in position of authority, it's all still human institutions, and humans are capable of error, of lying, of there's a lot of
they sure are
things. Yeah, and actually, I wish I could remember. Maybe if future me can look this up in the show notes. There's a really interesting episode of a podcast from NPR that talks about the way that information travels among people in positions of authority. And it's interesting because, again, it's about developing critical thinking skills. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that I think it's important to have respect for people who have expertise in their field, but also understand that there could be other things that are influencing things, so that no one person's view is sacrosanct, and that it's important to don't always believe people in authority just because they're in positions of authority.
I think you just said what I said.
Yeah.
So you agree with me?
I do.
Good.
Yeah. I agree with you. But what I'm trying to articulate, again, partially for our audience, because again, this could create some drama. Who knows? But the reason I think it's important, and I don't know, this may be broadening it out a little bit much.
Yeah.
But every time period has been like this, but it feels really heightened right now. But we live in a time period right now where it's like trust in authority is at an all-time low.
Good.
Well, that's good in some ways until you have people being right, the COVID vaccine is fake.
Yeah,
until
or it's like drink bleach.
Yeah,
and then they're like, I'm done with the COVID because I don't know if I should say COVID, but
yeah. Oh yeah, I shouldn't say the Rona or whatever.
Well, we're not sponsored. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that.
We can. Yeah.
Anyway, point being, it's the reason why I think even small situations like this in ceramics could have a broader impact, or it connects to broader things, is because of that idea of how much do we believe and inherently trust people in positions of authority, because we don't live lives where we can fact check everything on our own, because we just don't. We have to, everybody to some degree or another develops a baseline trust and belief in the things of reality based on who the people in their positions of authority are. For some people, it's, the church. For some people, it's, their dad, or, it changes. But sorry, I'm making this a lot bigger of a deal than it needs to be, but I find it interesting because this one little example shows how misinformation can circulate within communities, how new information can be introduced, but it's also sometimes there can be resistance to new information, even if that new information is correct, because people have that baseline understanding of the people I trust, the people in positions of authority told me it works this way, and I don't know you, I don't trust you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah.
And so, anyway, that's my TED Talk. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I know it's more complicated than that, but there's definitely is a portion of you should probably look outside of your echo chamber once in a while. Yeah. There definitely is that. And I think defending your echo chamber just because it makes you feel good is not inherently a positive thing. Now, granted, there definitely is a standard of third-party testing, right? Believing authority figures who have the equipment and whatnot to test it. I don't have what's it called? A spectrum, whatever.
Oh, oh my God. Yeah. A spectrophotometer.
Yeah, like I don't have one. I don't have one, so I have to believe people that are doing the science on that. But I think there's definitely a difficulty level. When you can test something in 5 minutes with soap, water, and slip, especially if you're a clay artist, I do think that's a limit of testing that's possible that doesn't require something like a dilatometer. Or, and you might not have the...
But you may not even unless that technique is not working for you.
Yes.
Then why would you even need to test?
Well, here's my thing, right? Is that, I'm on board with you, and I think whoever is perpetuating the misinformation about it being about acid was told by, like, their teacher, and then they were like, oh, it's about acid. Acid has been working for me, things with acid. But think about it. All the things in your everyday life that are quote-unquote acidic are like low viscosity juices in the first place. So of course they're doing it by accident, but they're correlating it to the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole magic behind this.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Oh my God,
you have to find something that's viscous and high acidity in comparison with like milk and water. You would have to get something like honey to really test out if it's about sugar or sodium or viscosity. Or I'm sorry, sugar, sodium, or acidity. And that's what I did. So the second I tested honey and I was like, this ain't working, I just went completely in the opposite. I went to bleach. The most non-acidic thing you can get in your household. And it totally works. In fact, fun fact, bleach is I forgot what the word is, but you don't need a surfactant with bleach. Oh, bleach just works with color and bleach by itself and slip.
Okay, so if you're using bleach, then don't put it in your kiln. Don't use bleach. But hypothetically, so in that situation, because bleach is low viscosity,
in comparison to the standard,
comparison to slip,
yes. It's always a comparison.
Right. But I'm just trying to remember, like, what's going to be on top and what's going to be on bottom.
Think about this. It works with water and glue.
Yes.
Right? So glue's on the bottom and the water and the color's on the top.
Whichever one is more wet is the one that goes on top. Okay. So it's essentially the base. The base is always going to be slip and water.
For us.
Yeah. And then whatever is being added is just like water and so basically as you were testing things, you were just changing what goes on top. You weren't changing what goes on bottom.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. In fact, I did a couple of tests of stuff that goes on bottom.
Oh, okay. So just to double check.
I did it on wooden spatulas. I did it on plastic spatulas. I did it on my wooden table. I did it on a paper plate. I did it on 3 of my pots, which I can show you pictures of.
Cool.
I also did it on different slips. So I did it on porcelain slip. I did it on beer mixed with grog slip. And then I made my own recipe for slip, which is it's almost like beer mixed with no grog in it. And it works. The only variable that I changed that made it not work was the viscosity. Wasn't sodium, wasn't sugar, wasn't acidity. This is already a thing in a 3rd grade experiment science lab. This is just viscous fingering. It's all about like viscosity interaction and surface tension. That's all it is.
So fascinating.
I know, and it's very weird because I'm having conversations with people online and they're like, I took a class and you are wrong. And then I have a videotape of me. I don't turn the camera off. I make sure they see the whole step. I pour just milk in a container, manganese dioxide. I have slip, and I show them like a bucket of porcelain slip I bought from Clay Planet, and it works. And they're like, I don't understand. And then I tell them, look up the pH level of milk, dude. Just look it up. I do have people that are using stuff like soy sauce, but I don't like to use that because it's hard to see the color I added in the soy sauce.
Oh, yeah.
So
also, if water just works, just use water.
Dude, if water...
It's the cheapest thing.
Yeah.
Unless there's something else, like some other property that...
You want to do it again?
Yeah.
I know, it's fun, right? Now that we have the correct brush, it's like, oh.
Yeah, okay, so that's another thing we should mention. I'm sure you mentioned this in the video, but having a sumi brush or something that is essentially holds a lot of liquid.
Oh, that's a lot.
Woo!
Woo! Every goth kid's wetting their pants right now.
Yeah!
Oh, it's so metal, dude.
Metal as fuck. Well, it's dendritic. It looks like, like for any of you stone gem lovers, it looks like a dendritic agate.
And what I like to do is I put more in the base up here, and then it does it more, right? Now, granted, you do have to skew this in a bit. You do have to figure out your viscosity. Granted, it's a very wide berth.
Yeah.
And you do have to kind of figure out how much color equals what, and you only know that after firing. I like to go in between like 10 and 14 grams of manganese dioxide.
Into how much water?
Into about 40 to 30 milliliters of water.
Okay.
But that changes whenever you change the base. So if you're using milk, that's going to change. If you're using red iron oxide, that's going to change. If you're using... And I know lemon juice is acidic, but I did it with this too. Lemon juice, that's going to change. If you're using bleach, that's going to change. You know? And so like yellow ochre or yellow iron oxide isn't and they're not the same thing. I'm just saying and or.
Yeah.
Stuff like yellow ochre might be less colorful in certain grams versus something like yellow iron oxide.
Okay, so essentially you still have to dial in, like,
You still gotta,
to get the effect that you want, you still have to dial in some things, but the biggest thing is that it doesn't matter if it's acidic or not.
Yeah.
You could just use water.
Yes, and it's crazy that Google's like, it's acid.
Well, that's because Google,
Aggregates.
it aggregates. Yeah, that's what the whole AI thing is. This is another example of why you can't, like, AI is not a,
Well, that's the thing. The pottery community is already so micro, and then the mocha diffusion culture within pottery is already is micro.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 5 people who are really good at it.
Yeah.
And they all they've either figured it out and they're gatekeeping it, or they've all like agreed to say it's acid.
Well, if it's all misinformation, then it's like, well, they just may think that it's acid and not know that.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like there's a conspiracy to keep it.
I don't think there's a conspiracy to keep it. I truly do think one like old person on a hill like was like, oh, check it out, I have lemons in the tree and it must be the acid, right? And then they just kind of pass that knowledge down, so now third generation is like, it's definitely acid.
That's so interesting.
But then there's no one in the class who raises their hand and is like, have you ever just tried it with something non-acidic? And even if they did, the person in front of the camera will probably be like, no, it doesn't work. But I'm doing it.
Yeah.
In front of you.
Yeah.
Right now.
What I hope that this situation evokes in people is...
testing.
Yeah, like a sense of curiosity. Like, because I think, like, some of us are like, lucky enough to be able to have, like, taken pottery classes, taken ceramics classes, and have had, like, some more hands-on instruction on these things. Mm-hmm. But most folks, I don't think... don't come to ceramics like that. They learn online. They learn from you. They learn from John the Potter. They learn from, Matt and Rose Katz. They learn from, anyway, they just learn from a bunch of other people. They're not like taking classes. So it is a natural kind of thing to be like, if you are new to something, or at least my assumption is that it's a natural thing to be like, if you're new to something, you go to someone who is more experienced and you go, okay, well, they know what they're talking about. Cool. But I think it's nice to know that things can still be, discovered. And it's like, and the point of testing, because it's not like you're doing this to be like, haha, look at me, I'm like doing all these things to be like, to cause...
No, that's actually exactly why I'm doing it.
Oh, that is, okay.
Yeah,
all right,
I want to cause...
you want to cause
trouble.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm just, I mean, I know we talk about them a lot in the podcast, and I told them this, Matt and Rose have just ruined me. they've just ruined me.
What do you mean?
Like now I'm like 1/8 of a scientist, or like a baby chemist. So now like every time some pseudo misinformation happens in the clay world, I'm like, that doesn't chemically make sense. Wouldn't most acid just combine with the water? Like, you know what I mean? Like when you mix together lemon juice and water, doesn't isn't it water soluble? Like it doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing's separating here.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
And I think one of the things that's neat about that too is that, like, I think from having, because, I used to volunteer at Sac City College in their ceramics department. And one of the things that I think is really neat is that people who are new, a lot of folks who are new to ceramics ask a bazillion questions.
Thank God.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. And then I think to some degree, once you get a little bit more into the field, you start kind of accepting certain things as truth. And a lot of the times those things are true, like there's a lot of times are true. A lot of times are true. But I think it's important to see that continuing to ask questions, continuing to be like, how does this work? How do these things do? And that's if it's something that you're curious about. Like, I guess what I'm wanting to bring into this episode is like a positive note about curiosity, because even if you do an experiment and you find that it confirms everything that you've heard from other authority figures, well, cool. You still learned something. You still went through the process of like testing and figuring it out yourself. And I think that's really cool. Like, and I think we need people to have that sense of curiosity and not be afraid to ask questions. And, what's the whole thing? Trust but verify.
Yeah, I think that's my whole thing is like trust but verify. And I think the frustrating part for me isn't the misinformation. To be honest with you, it's not.
Really?
Yeah, the difficult part for me is the regurgitation of misinformation without testing it. Because if somebody told me some kind of information and then I go, that seems really easy to try. That seems like you can test that out within 10 minutes. Have you done that? And they go, no, but this other guy told me. I go, okay, well I am testing it. and here's all my results and all my finding. By the way, you can do this test yourself in 5 minutes. And they go, nuh-uh.
Okay, yeah, no,
that's the difficult part. Okay, yeah, no, that's infuriating.
That would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with people not testing things because I think it's okay to choose what you spend your time doing. Like,
I'm okay with
my curiosity with ceramics is not around the chemical side of things.
Of course,
it's just not.
Most people aren't.
Yeah, but I think but like what.
Something's wrong with me inside.
No. I mean, you're curious, and
they broke me on the inside. It's their fault. They know. Okay. If they're listening to this, you know who you are.
Yeah. So I think what's neat. I'm never gonna judge someone for not testing every single thing that someone tells them about ceramics.
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not possible. Yeah. But like you're saying, if there's something where you go like, wait, that either that doesn't seem right, or wait, how does that work, or can I test this? It's okay to do that, and then like what you're saying is also just when you're shown the results, like accept the results.
Yeah, I think that's or at least have a dialogue about it. At least to be like, okay, well, is there an acidity? Because when I looked at milk, I double checked. So when I looked at water, I was like, well, technically the most common water that you're gonna find, I think it's a pH of like 6 to 7, and I think detractors would be like, well, 7 is neutral, 6 isn't, so there's technically some acidity, right? Stuff like that, and then okay, well, milk is less acidic on average because it's filled with a bunch of other stuff, including water, like proteins and fat. And then they go, well, milk is like 6.4 to 6.9. And that's technically that's 0.1 away from neutral. And that's technically acid. And I go, okay. And then I use bleach. Yeah. And then at the point I'm using bleach, it's like,
Yeah.
At that point, if you stick your hand in the sand and go, And granted, I am definitely a proponent of third-party testing. I think if you have reliable sources and there's third-party testing and you can't test it yourself, especially if it's not like easy or financially viable for you, then it's like, who am I to say, too bad nerd, buy a dilatometer. But no. Figure it out, kid. But I also do think with something like this that I figured it out, I tested it incorrectly in one day. I figured out what it was by day 2, and then I did all of my tests over a 24-hour period by day 3. This was not hard to disprove whatsoever. And I do think, while I am a proponent of third-party testing, because we accept third-party testing on an everyday basis. Yeah. Right? The chairs we're sitting in, we trust that somebody's done the testing to make sure they're built for a human body, right? The brakes on your car.
Ideally, I mean, there's a lot of, the FDA is a really good example of how, if you don't fund things to have that third-party testing, that's how you end up with worms in your milk.
That one guy that sounds like he smokes 20 packs of cigarettes a day.
Oh.
I don't know. I forgot his name.
I remember, but I don't want to say his name on the podcast. We all know who we're talking about.
But like when we get in our car, we trust third-party testing for the brakes to work, for the lights to work, for the blinker to work, for the engine to work. We trust third-party testing on an everyday basis with a bajillion things. And so I don't think it's totally out of this world to look at someone who you look at as a trusted source unless you have proof of like corruption or something. Wink, wink. But I will say at the point in which someone shows you the exact opposite of what you're saying seems to work, and you say that ought not to work, you should probably get off the hill you're trying to die on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a dog chasing a car. I've caught the car, but the dog never knows what to do with the car. Yeah. So it's like, I caught the car. What do I do now?
It's going to be really interesting to see what the response is to this.
I have a bunch of them. I have one video about crazing where I'm going to show people that I take stuff out of the kiln at like 600 degrees. And then I spray ice cold water on it and it doesn't craze. I have one about, and granted, these videos have taken me like months to prepare, but I have one about, thermoshock? Oh, yeah. People think thermoshock happens when you just open the kiln like above 200 degrees. But thermoshock really happens when you take a piece out and you dunk it in like ice cold water. Yeah. But those same people will do raku. And that's what bugs me is that like,
this is your season of myth busting is what I'm hearing.
Not even myth busting, because I might even use some incorrect terms, but like I know for sure a lot of the things that have been perpetuated in the ceramic art world are false. And I can figure them out with really, I don't want to say easy, but pretty relatively easy in comparison to an actual science facility testing. The kid in the garage is figuring it out. Come on. Come on, guys. I have a couple students who are like, no, thermoshock is a thing. It makes your pots break if you take it out of the kiln or you open your kiln like around 300 degrees. And then I'll watch them do raku, which You grab with tongs like a 1,000 degree pot into the cold air, and then you dunk it in a cold, like metal trash can, and then you dunk it in water.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not how it works. That's not how it works, and it's weird that they're doing all the things that would disprove that it doesn't work, but they die on that hill. It's so weird to me. This is definitely the season of like I told you so.
I like that.
It's gonna be one of those.
I'm here for it.
I'm not. I'm about to make so many enemies, and I don't want to. I don't want to. I have no. I have no beef with anyone. But like, it's the stuff that's being perpetuated is just bar none not true.
All right.
That's all.
Well, I look forward to seeing it. And again, dear listeners, if you want to get the early scoop on this, go to patreon.com/EarthNationCeramics, and you'll get this info a week in advance.
Keep in mind, I have already written, and I am writing an even larger blog about it at earthnationceramics.com in my blogs.
Okay, so that's already published?
No, it's gonna be with the video probably like in 2 weeks.
Okay, so what would patrons get early access to?
The video.
Oh, okay.
And then the blog and the video are gonna be posted a week later.
Okay.
So patrons get the video first, and then the blogs, but the blog is gonna have
extra sauce.
Well, it's gonna have 30 minutes worth of me just like in front of a camera being like, look, Colgate or Crest mouthwash, and then actively like putting it in the container with manganese, with no soap, and then being like, look, it works. And then adding soap, and then being like, look, it still works. And then doing bleach and the same thing, and being like, look, it works. And then adding soap, and being like, look, it still works. And then doing water, and then doing honey, and then, you know what I mean?
Cool. Yeah.
Like, it's just going to be all that.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I look forward to it.
Oh.
All right, dear listeners.
I'm tired now.
Yeah, me too.
Sleepy though.
Yeah. Oh, I want more bagels.
More bagels?
More bagels. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of The Mud Peddlers. We would love to hear from you, so if you want to share your thoughts about the episodes or just see what Donte and I are working on in our studios, come say hi. You can find links to my social media at lindseymdillon.com. That's LINDSEY, M as in monster, DILLON.com.
And you can visit my pottery shop or see what I'm working on at earthnationceramics.com. And you can find me all over social media at Earth Nation Ceramics. It's spelled exactly how you think it's spelled.
And if you want to support the show, hear some bonus episodes, and see some behind the scenes of my work, you can support me and the show at patreon.com/Lindsey M Dillon. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.